Hello, everyone. This is Rosemary Coates in Silicon Valley. I'm your host for this edition of the Women and Manufacturing podcast. I'm the executive director of the Reshoring Institute, where we help companies bring or expand their manufacturing in the U.S. I also run global supply chain consulting firm called Blue Silk Consulting, where we help clients with global supply chain projects and where I also do expert witness work. On these podcasts, we interview accomplished women in business and ask them to share their experiences with us. We are looking for insights from women leaders across America that we can all learn from. So today, I'm really delighted to welcome my guest, Cynthia Andela. She's the owner and CEO of Andela Glass in upstate New York. And Cindy is leading the charge in glass recycling and in running a very unique and interesting business. And I'm going to let her tell you about that. So welcome, Cindy.
Thank you for being here with me.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun conversation between us. Can you let's start out and can you tell us about your background and how you ended up in manufacturing?
Sure. I think it's always interesting to see how many women end up in manufacturing and maybe how many who don't. I would say, started out, as someone in school, I always liked math. I liked solving problems. It took me a while to find my journey to be an engineer and to study engineering. At the time I was going through school, maybe 10% of the women were engineers. My daughter went through school to be an engineer, and it was all the way up to 15%. So I'm not sure we've made a lot of progress yet. And I think it's because women don't know what engineering is about, and it's a wonderful way to apply math and science and problem solving to real world problems. And that's what really, got me interested. So I kind of put that engineering background together with my entrepreneurial spirit, and I got out of school and I first worked for a large company, General Electric, and got some good experience in manufacturing. I always really didn't want to sit behind a desk. I wanted to be in manufacturing. I got a master's in business, MBA from Winslow Polytech Institute in New York. And then I jumped off the corporate wagon and took the vow of poverty and became an entrepreneur and started my own business.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, I know. So that's when I started working, with the start of Andela Products and Andela Tool Machine. It was basically, we were making equipment for other companies, but we said we really want to have our own product line. And so and the Andela pulverizer was invented, created as a product line that and patented that was unique to our company. And it's for turning glass into sand. It's a local solution to a local problem. And it just seemed like a very common sense thing to do. Glass comes from sand. Why don't we turn it back into sand? You don't have to move it anywhere. You don't have to, transport it. But, that was a new concept. So I've been in this business for over 25 years, really promoting that idea and building a manufacturing business to actually manufacture that equipment. So we've, built this business. I built this business from the bottom up, starting out with a very, basics and working the manufacturing into more of a custom manufacturing. We're still completely a US manufacturer, and we've been able to go through all these ebbs and flows of the economy because we have a specific niche, and the internet has really helped draw that business into us. And so I'm a woman in manufacturing in the recycling industry, and I am a rare bird in that industry.
I can relate to you. And when I was in college, my undergrad was in logistics management, and out of logistics and transportation, out of 87 people with that major at Arizona State University, only 3 of us were women. Yeah. All the good news was I was pretty sure I was going to get a job easily because so many companies were looking for women at the time. So, so that was a plus. But it's really interesting at how there's been growth in some of these areas where women are studying, but by and large, it's still sort of predominantly male. So, well, so tell us some more about Andela products and how it's developed. Is so I know you make the recycling of glass and so forth, but tell us a little bit more about the product and what it looks like and how it works.
Yeah, sure. So our product is a different pieces of equipment, or what I call complete systems, which think of stringing them together to make a complete necklace or a complete train. You've got a number of cars that all have to connect, and so we have equipment that will handle crushing glass, any type of glass. So we basically take waste glass that's mixed with non-glass and turn it into a fine sand. And we do this all in one step process, from a loading to a pulverizing to screening process. And this is unique in that we can turn this into a sand that you can use in your sandbox with no sharp edges, or a stone. And the bottle caps, the paper, the residue that might be in there come out in a larger form, and they separate out the end. So it's very adaptable to anything. We have equipment all over the world, because islands, remote places, if they want to recycle glass, this is an obvious solution to them. And over the years, the interest in our equipment has been driven by market forces that include environmental market forces. People want to recycle. They don't want to put the glass in landfills. The United States generates about 9 to 11 million tons of glass every year.
Wow.
And only 2 or 3 million tons of that maximum are now recycled back into new bottles and so on. So that means there's a significant amount of glass that is still going to the landfill, and we provide a solution for that. So it's a lot of.
So do you, at the end of the process, do you actually send the pulverized material back for glass making or something else?
It's usually used locally for something else. So it's a replacement for sand. And everybody thought, well, there's sand everywhere. Why bother making sand? But it's interesting, because sand is now becoming in short supply. There's actually sand wars going on. If you get into islands, they can't mine sand off the beaches. With global warming, the beaches are disappearing. There's erosion. The sand is disappearing out into the ocean, and they need sand. They're importing sand, barges of it. So any island, any place that has glass as a resource that's coming in the form of containers, or something that's been imported, they want to turn that into a local resource, because they need it to build their buildings, to just anything from pool filter sand to construction sand.
Yeah, I think I've seen something about this on PBS or somewhere.
Yeah.
Where sand is used for cement, right? And so when you're making buildings, you have to have all the sand, and it's just not available anymore. Yeah, it can't be taken off the beaches. Yeah.
Yeah, they think sand is everywhere, but in the desert, they can't use desert sand for construction. They actually import sand even when there's an abundance, because it's not the right size. It doesn't have the right gradation. And our equipment actually makes a construction graded sand. It's the right size, it's the right construction. So people are rethinking sand as something to just be brushed aside. Also, from a safety point of view, glass sand doesn't have any dust, hazardous dust associated with it. People might, in the industry, might think about crystalline silica, crystalline dust is hazardous. Regular dust from sand is, but glass is not. Glass is actually a super cooled fluid, and it gets along with our bodies. It doesn't cause any problems. So it's a safer material, and it's an environmentally sustainable and recircular process.
So in making this stuff, I don't know, the pulverized glass. So in making it, the machinery has what, tumblers inside that break it down or chop it up, or how does that work?
Yeah, so our really the magic of this is we have a bunch of hammers flying around inside there. And I say it's some sort of a combination of a tornado and a blender and a flexible hammer mill, okay? So when the material goes in there, the glass gets broken down and tumbled all at the same time, but a piece of paper will fly through on the airstream. So Walmart receipts or a plastic bottle will come out whole, but the glass will turn into material less than a half inch or less than a quarter inch in size.
Wow.
So it's just it is unique to our process. It was invented just to do glass. It wasn't an accommodate some sort of change from a rock crusher, and now use it for glass. So that kind of unique design comes into play, which is what I enjoy doing as a woman, an engineer in manufacturing, is problem solving. So people come to us and say, you know, I've got laminated glass at that windshield. So we design a machine to take the glass off the laminate. Someone says, oh, we got CRTs, these big glass things that have to be smashed. So we'll take our basic design and redesign the around it, that basic design, to handle all these different types of materials. So our magical little swinging hammers do the work, but we'll redesign the system for different types of material.
Wow, so interesting how that all works, and yet so simple. You know, we really have solved a problem with a process that is going to help us environmentally, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
you also have another brand called Ruby Lake Glass. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been manufacturing these machines for over 20, up to 25 or over 25 years. So the equipment manufacturing and providing that to the industry has been going for some time. But I would also often talk to people and say, why don't you do this with the glass? Why don't you do that with the glass sand? And so then I started a company to actually be a glass recycling company. You know, practice what you preach, right? I just couldn't resist. And I started another company, and Ruby Lake Glass is a glass recycling company. It's a new product that nobody else is doing. The technology we have is unique in that we have a proprietary process for color coding the glass. So we put a very thin coating on the glass. It's durable, it's attached in a special way so it doesn't just wash off. And you can make colored sand, very fine material, less than 1 millimeter in size, color coded, which can be added to coatings and applied to surfaces. Or we have particles that are a little bit bigger, and they're glued to the roads and make bike lanes and bus lanes, a color. So Ruby Lake Glass now is recycling all types of clear glass. Could do colored glass too, but it focuses on clear glass. It could be panel glass, it could be window glass, it could be windshield glass. You know, this is glass that nobody else wants to recycle. We take it, and then we crush it, pulverize it, screen it using the equipment from Andela products, and then we turn it in through our process into a color-coded material.
So can people just buy this from you, or does it, are you shipping it through a retail channel, or what happens?
No, they're buying it directly. We have everything from people just stopping in and doing buying it off our property in what I call the factory outlet store. We call it scoop your own. We give them a bucket, or they bring their bucket, we give them a shovel, and they go out there and they just fill it up and they pay per bucket. It's like pick your own blueberries or apples. And we got colors that are left over from our orders. But then we really do mostly business to business transactions where we sell, you know, truckloads of material, 22 tons at a time. So we basically sell thousands of tons of this, and it goes on trucks and it goes to a contractor in the business of putting it on the roads, or a coating contractor who's going to put it on the walls of the floor. Or it can also go in concrete products, like a polished concrete countertop, you know, with colored aggregates in it.
Sure. So it's a sparkly flex sort of?
Yeah, and it'll be color because we use clear glass. So even if you polish it, the backside of it is colored and it's like a mirror. You can still see the color. So if you wanted a polished concrete with a red or a yellow or a blue, like the blue of your shirt there can be the color that we can match. We can match any color because we're actually, you know, putting it into the coating that goes on it.
Oh, wow, fantastic. Yeah, and colors come and go too. So, you know, one color is popular for a while, then another color, and especially in home products in particular, I know that's very important. So it's interesting that you can change the colors and develop
Yeah,
them.
we can. So it goes from landscaping, or it goes into architectural products, or it goes into the coatings industry. And one of our biggest customers is road demarcation or road marking. So in Boston, New York City, there's bus lanes that are red, and you get off the bus, you don't want to slip and fall. So instead of being on red slippery paint, they're actually stepping on color-coded red glass that's been epoxy. Yeah, and bike lanes are.
Yeah, it was driving yesterday, and I noticed there were some new bike lanes that had been put in place on some of the roads. They were green for the bike
Yep,
lanes, but there were some other colors mixed in too. I think that's really interesting. And it must last longer than paint as well too, right?
that's right. Yeah, color, durability, and friction. So you can get the color you want. You can get the friction rating you want, so you don't slip and fall. It depends on the size of the glass, and it's durable. It, especially up here in the Northeast, it takes the snow plows and it stays on year after year.
Very good. Wow. So it's fascinating how, how this all works, and everyday products that we see or use or, pass by, and you don't even know that it includes, yeah, these kind of materials. So
Yep.
I would suspect that with all climate change and with more focus on green initiatives, I
Mhm.
would think that very many places would be interested in your machinery and in the final products that come out of it. Can you tell us a little bit about your customers and who they are, and why they select your products?
Sure. Yeah, our customers are municipalities or like this, the city, the county, the state, the government, or private industry. So ultimately, it's the people who call for it. People say, I want to recycle the glass. And then they let their municipal leaders know we want to recycle glass. And so the municipal leaders are like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? Because our there's nobody going to collect glass for bottles here. They're mixed, or we have a glass they don't want, or we're too far away from a bottle manufacturer. So the municipal entities start that process, and then they look for solutions. And sometimes they buy it themselves and operate it themselves. Sometimes they contract to a private entity to buy it and operate it. And sometimes it's just nonprofits. Like we have a pulverizer system going to a Rotary Club in Lake Chelan, Washington. And the Rotary Club, with some grants and private, money, is buying it and setting it up, and then the municipality is going to, in this case, help them operate it. So it can be some combination of that. And we also have private industry in windows and door companies that generate waste glass. They used to throw that away, and a lot of companies are trying to look at their back end and become zero waste companies. And if they want to be zero waste, they start finding out they're throwing away a material that we could recycle into a sand. And so
Huh.
they'll start looking to us for solutions too.
So interesting. So, just so that we can imagine this, how big are the products? Are they the recycler? Is it like the size of a house, or is it, more compact, or what's it look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because we do everything from small machines, we call them a GP mini, and a mini for us is still pretty big for some people, okay? Because it's really an industrial machine, but it might be, something that's 5 feet by 5 feet by 5 feet cube, okay? And it's all self-contained, and like Disney would be interested in this, or other companies that might put it on a cruise ship, or they put it in a resort, and
Oh, yeah. Wow.
they can
So,
load their bottles in, and out comes sand and the trash separated. So it can be as small as that, or it can be as big as like a couple tractor trailer loads next to each other. It might be something where we ship a system that we actually ship 4 truckloads of equipment that are set up, and it might be 100 feet or 150 feet by 80 feet, and that might do 20 tons an hour. So we do everything from 1,000 pounds an hour up to 20 tons an hour
okay.
capabilities.
So coming out of it, if you're, say, you're doing something, you're a manufacturer of windshields, for example, and you have all this extra glass, waste
Yeah.
glass, and you used your equipment to recycle it. Coming out of it is sand that doesn't need any further processing. It can just go into the environment, right?
That's right.
If
Yeah.
you choose not to sell it or to do anything else with the sand,
Mhm.
it can go anywhere, right?
It can go anywhere, right? A lot of people have a hard time just kind of imagining, like, what do I do with sand? I'll say to many of my customers, well, you probably have potholes in your parking lot that would take care of it for a while.
Mhm.
With that, and they start saying, oh yeah. And we started what we called the Scoop Your Own program, where people come and just buy it by the bucket. They'll pay $10 for a bucket of it, and they bring it home, put it around their bushes, put it under their patio blocks, put it anywhere where they buy sand. And that really helps with the recycling, because if they bring their waste glass in and then they can go ahead and buy the sand, they see the circularity. They see that it's being recycled. It's not just disappearing somewhere. So just putting it out a visible place with a shovel in it, and then people buy the bucket, and then contractors buy the truckload will come and buy it, because then they start seeing it as an alternative to going to the gravel pit.
It's fantastic. I mean, I've worked with some other companies that are in the recycling, not recycling glass, but in general, trying to recycle their waste products or making some attempt. There's nothing that's as efficient as what you're describing. Nothing. I mean, this is really fantastic. Yeah.
It's so incredibly simple. It's been hard for me to understand why people couldn't get it. And some people have said, well, who's your competition? And I said, really, the landfills are our competition. Okay. The waste companies who own the landfills, they like the glass in the landfill. It's heavy, it's inert, it doesn't go anywhere. And they get paid by weight when it goes over the scale. So there's no initiative from the waste companies. It's really an awareness of the people that are generating the glass waste themselves, whether it's individuals or companies. And that is now becoming more and more open awareness with the circularity, with zero waste initiatives. So that's been helpful.
Yeah, fantastic. So, so how do you have hundreds of these machines out there in the marketplace, or a smaller number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we have hundreds. We've lost count, but hundreds of machines out there since we've been doing it for a while. And then they move around over time, and they come back. They don't usually come back to us, but they'll show up again, and somebody will call us and say, I bought this, and can you get it up and running for us? And we do. We can refurbish. It's a heavy duty design, but the parts that wear out are replaceable, and we can get them back in business. So our equipment's out there, and getting replaced or upgraded, or just brand new customers. And you find them in the most obscure places. But
so that must be a fairly significant part of your business, is field service and the repair part of it.
Yeah, it's getting to be more and more of that. It's great, because that's a base part of the business. Maybe 20-30% of our business is just servicing and replacement parts for equipment that's out there.
Fantastic. So a little bit more about your customers. What are they asking for? I mean, are customers asking for more made in America equipment, or zero footprint stuff, or what are they looking for when they come to you?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is something I've really noticed this last year, because of COVID and because of the supply chain issues we have. People call up and they say, is this all made in America? And we go, yeah, absolutely. We are American based. The materials we all buy are made in America as far as we can tell. And this is American. And they go, good. Well, that's what we're going to buy, because we've had too much trouble getting parts and service from something that's made in another country. And so this is getting to be more and more relevant.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and I think of course, I'm biased because I run the Reshoring Institute, but on the other hand, I think it's just this general awareness of the principles of buying local. So local for local, we call that, where you're making products in the U.S. for the U.S. market. And, that's got some real advantages to us economically, as well as, it's just the right thing to do. So we're in favor of that.
It's making more sense for everyone, not only because it just feels right, but it's a delivery issue and it's a pricing issue. And now we can be competitive in that area.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. So tell me a little bit about being a woman and owning a business like this. I mean, what do you think about women-owned businesses in general?
Well, I think they're great, of course, and I'd like to see even more of them. I think that there's more women, there are more and more women-owned businesses. And one thing I've learned over time is to self-promote a little bit more as a woman in the business. It's
Yeah. I can relate to that for sure. Yeah.
um, it took me a while until some people said to me, "Oh, did your dad own the business?" Or, like people were like asking, like, why are you qualified to run this business? So then I thought, oh well, just put it out there. So I'm like, no, this is my business. I'm an engineer. I know what I'm talking about, and without being overt, but really self-promote yourself a little bit more, because people do respect the knowledge. And as a woman in business, I think we often have to be smarter. We can't just ride on the, coattails of, well, I'm, you know,
Yeah.
I'm here, so I'm good. I do speak up, and I have to go a bit more on credibility of what you know.
Well,
And
I've been in the manufacturing world for 35 years and I've experienced exactly the same thing. People are
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you're the hanger on, you're the token woman in manufacturing." And I have to
Yeah,
explain to them, "No, I mean, this is what I do." And
yeah,
you're absolutely right about self-promotion. You have to get over that feeling that you're not as good or shy, or you have to just stand up and say, "This is what I do and I'm good at it, and this is
yeah.
why I do it and how I have that training." I think that's very important.
Yeah, it took me a little while to do that. I guess, I think maybe we weren't raised to self-promote as much, that we
Mhm.
didn't want to boast about anything. But then I really don't even notice, then I just go out and do my job, and, you know, we just get the job done. And my employees, men and women alike, it's just come and work. So in Ruby Lake Glass, I have a woman supervisor in the manufacturing, and other women who, are doing the same work as the men in a fairly, dirty manufacturing, running the machines environment, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and we just don't really think about it, because I think that my supervisors, who happen to be men, but they aren't afraid to hire a woman because their boss is a woman, so.
Yeah, right. Right. It's really changing that attitude over time. I noticed my son works for a woman too. And
Mhm.
I can just see his attitude is different than what I experienced in the workplace, where he doesn't really care, right? It's one or another. But it was clearly different, 35 years ago when I first entered the
Oh,
work.
there was. Yeah. And in the COVID thing, and the way we're communicating with each other more, because of this last year, we weren't traveling as much. There was less of the good old boy network in the shows, and everybody goes out golfing or goes out and hangs out, afterwards for drinking or whatever, and as a woman in manufacturing, I'm not good. I'm more interested in getting the job done than the hanging out with the guys type of
Yeah.
thing. And so that's kind of gone away a bit. It's never gone, but the fact that we're all working from Zoom, and we're more focused on what and getting the job done than the social
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
side.
It,
And
it
I
is
kind of like
getting
that.
better. It is getting better for sure. So you mentioned the pandemic. How has that affected your business over the last year?
Well, in the very beginning, it affected us like everybody else. We were in the shutdown mode, and what are we going to do? But very quickly, we recovered, because we were considered an essential business, because we were in the waste and recycling industry. So we had services that had to continue, and we were servicing customers who had to continue. Recycling during the pandemic was higher than ever, because everybody was staying home, and they were actually consuming more at home, and putting it out on the curb. So my customers were busy. So we've been busy. So it hasn't impacted us uh, real negatively, except the first half of the year, last year in the first half of the year when it hit. So we had a definite problem then, and now it's more of a catch up where, we were busy when other people weren't, and now we're busy, but we have supply issues. We can't, the price of steel has doubled in the last year. So, particular things just don't come in when you expect, with that.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, there's all kinds of delays and
all
yeah.
kinds of delays. And so we also transitioned, like many manufacturers, to a just-in-time process where we had less inventory. We depended on our suppliers to get us everything in a week or two. and we've had to rethink that like many other people have.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of issues popping up that are driving companies to actually source in the U.S. And make their products here. So we are, I think, in the process of developing more manufacturing in America. We lost so many jobs over the past 25 years, and manufacturing went from about 25% of the economy in the 1960s down to less than 10% right now. But we're seeing a rebound, and what's coming back is more advanced jobs that pay better and are more skillful. So that's the direction we definitely want to move in.
Yeah, manufacturing is finally getting its time, its attention, and we
Yeah.
need skilled workers.
So Cindy, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything else you'd like to add to what we've talked about, or?
Yeah, well, you really covered it pretty good. I can't think of anything that needs to be added. It's been fun, talking to you about this, and
Me too.
enjoyed.
I think you have a company that we should keep an eye on. Not only is it in alignment with the green initiatives and the greater climate change issues that are out there, but also manufacturing in America. It sort of hits on all those things and is very important and so interesting. And I'm sure all of us now, as we're driving down the street, are gonna look at all that paint and wonder if it's got glass in it. Yeah, for
You're
sure.
gonna be looking at that, what's on the road, and wondering if that's the glass you're walking on, and hopefully more and more it will be. We're trying to replace a plastic they put on the road right now, which is just, it's toxic and
Yeah,
not user friendly, and ours will be durable. So we're working our way into that market, and you'll see us more and more on the road.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Cindy. Can you give us your contact information and the contact for the company in case anybody wants to follow up with you?
Sure. Yeah. So this is Andela Products. Okay. My website is www.andelaproducts.com. And my name is Cindy, or Cynthia Andela, and the phone number is 315-858-0055. And that should get you into our phone system, and just look for Cynthia Andela.
Very good. Thank you. So you can listen to more podcasts on women in manufacturing at our website, which is www.womenandmfg.com. And you can reach me, Rosemary Coates, at rcoates, RCOATES, at reshoringinstitute.org. And visit our website at www.reshoringinstitute.org, where we publish all of our research on manufacturing in America. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.